Fox Sports and the American Le Mans Series bring you live coverage of qualifying for the 16th annual Tequila Patron Petit Le Mans, brought to you by Tequila Patron, simply perfect. And the weather today, here just north of Atlanta, Georgia, simply perfect. It's rained for the last couple of days, but cooler air, drier air, and sunshine greets us for qualifying. Welcome, everyone. Brian Till along with Johnny O'Connell and Calvin Fish. And a bit later, Bob Barsha, Dorsey Schrader, and Justin Bell will also join in. Qualifying, always exciting in the American Le Mans Series, especially when you have 5 different classes of cars, and the guys really pushing hard right now. They want to be the one that qualifies on pole. They want to be the one who wins this last race of the season and the last American Le Mans Series race ever. 5 different classes of cars in 4 different sessions, Calvin.
Well, it's great because essentially you're void of traffic you've been dealing with all week long, and you're going to deal with it for 10 hours or 1,000 miles here tomorrow in the race. So it's really an opportunity for the drivers to get out there, put the cars on the limit. It's a lot of fun. It doesn't happen all week, and you know, Johnny, a lot of people talk about why do you put the car on the line with a long race ahead of you. What's your take on that one?
Well, you know what? It's important because, I mean, at the end of the day, all these race car drivers, Calvin, they've got egos. And you know, when it comes to quality, they really do. Well, except for Brian, you know, but you do. And this is your one opportunity to throw down against those guys that you respect, but that you want to beat more than anybody else. Qualifying that one lap, it's magical and it means something.
And it is contract time for everyone looking ahead to next year, so time to make a statement, let's put it that way.
Now, the first 2 classes that will run are the 2 GT-based classes. The first will be GT Challenge, all spec series. That means all the cars are identical, 911 GT3 Cup Porsches, and they'll run on identical Yokohama tires. In the GT category, well, these are the sporty cars you want to drive on the street. All of them 5.5-liter displacements up to, I should say, with the exception of the Viper, which has 8 liters and a V10 underneath the hood. Let's take a look at GT Challenge points. Jerome Blickamole and Cooper McNeil, they lead the category, but you'll notice Enrique Cisneros in second, Sean Edwards in fourth, the names in yellow, and that is because Sean Edwards, at 26 years of age, lost his life in a testing accident earlier this week in Australia. Enrique Cisneros, his teammate, the entire paddock, saddened obviously by that loss. But Cisneros has pulled that entry from the field, and the Momo NGT Porsche will not run today. Remember Sean Edwards? Indeed, we will. A great young talent, gone far too soon. But the championship is still up for grabs in GT Challenge, and the guys will indeed be pushing hard for that. One team, they've been very strong as of late. That's the Racers Group, and Kelly Stavist has more from their pits.
Yeah, Brian, you won't see the 66 TRG car on that championship leaderboard. They have given us plenty to talk about. Damian Faulkner has put the 66 car on pole the last 2 races. He and Ben Keating have converted those into wins. But Damian, we're minutes from qualifying. Your car's still sitting here in the paddock. What's going on?
Well, it was the same for VIR. Actually, we made a really late change that made all the difference there. This morning we were a little bit, we'd lost our mojo a little bit, I think, with track conditions changing and stuff like that. And so although we'd done some testing and then we tried some other things, and now we're just going to go back. So we're hoping for a stronger performance than the practice session just gone.
Well, those last 2 races were sprint races. Qualifying obviously paid off huge. How important is it for this 10-hour contest tomorrow?
It's not, in terms of position, it's not really important at all. But in terms of time, I mean, you know, we were quite a ways off in that session, so you don't want to be that far off every lap in the race, or you'll be a long way off at the end of the race. But you know, it's circumstantial as well. There's lots of traffic to deal with in the race. It's a 1,000-mile race, so you know, anything can happen, and really it's about staying out of trouble and having a clean race and you know, spending as little time in the pits as you can. So we're hoping for a strong end to the season here at TRG.
All right, I'll let you get suited up for qualifying. We'll send it over to someone who is still fighting for that GTC championship, Spencer Pumpelly, who's third in the points, and he's with Jamie Howe.
Well, Kelly, 3 races ago, Flying Lizard Motorsports drivers Spencer Pumpelly and Nelson Canache Jr. were actually leading the GTC points, but in the last 3 races, they've had bad luck and they've had a lot of damage, and that has put the team now 3rd place and 16 points out of the lead. So, Spencer, as we head into Petit Le Mans, what's the mentality of this Flying Lizard Motorsports team?
Well, it's a little unfortunate we're not in the championship hunt anymore. We need some bad luck from some other teams to make it work for us. So we're here just to win and have fun. Obviously, it's supposed to be a celebration of a great season coming to a conclusion. We're all here with heavy hearts today, so we're just going to go out and try to, remember Sean and have hopefully a great finish to the season.
You have qualifying duties. This is also your hometown track, so there's a lot of bragging rights on the line. How important is qualifying to you today?
There's bragging rights on the line every time these guys get out in the cars, every practice session. So obviously it's important, but today we just want to put it towards the front, have a good chance. It's a long race. We got Madison Snow on board with Nelson Canache, and I have a really good team. So qualifying position isn't as important as it being a sprint race because we've got a really solid lineup to go. But all here just remembering Sean, and hopefully it's have a good weekend in his honor.
Certainly remembering Sean, as we all are. But one team that is leading the points, that is Alex Job Racing, and Chris Neville is there.
Well, Cooper McNeil and Jerome Beekmung trying to go for this GTC championship. Cooper, you're going for back-to-back championships. You guys have a 13-point lead, but a 10-hour race, 13-point lead, that's anything but a layup.
Yeah, the championship's not over yet. We have to finish 6th or better if the 45 car wins to clinch the championship. That's what we're looking to do. Obviously, the Alex Job guys and the WeatherTech guys, we come here to the races each weekend to win, and that's what we're going to try and do. But the championship's the big picture.
One thing we hear in these endurance races is qualifying isn't that important, but in this class, everything's so similar. So how important is it to qualify up front?
Yeah, this is a spec class, so all the cars are exactly the same. So basically, it comes down to who's the faster driver and who has a better setup. So qualifying is extremely important for track position. Even though it's a long race, we want to start in the lead and hopefully hold it for the whole race.
Well, the WeatherTech group won the Sebring race earlier this year. They're trying to bookend the year with a win here tomorrow.
And take home another championship. But interesting to hear those drivers talk about the racetrack, how much it's changed. That's thrown a curveball at these guys, so they'll have to get a handle on that if they want to qualify up front. And 70%, you've got to finish that if you're going to collect points. Speaking of points, take a look at GT driver points. 14 points back, Dirk Mueller is from Antonio Garcia and Jan Magnussen at Corvette, so that driver's championship is far from settled. And one more time, with 1,000 miles and 10 hours to go, anything can happen.
And the key with these long races, there's a regulation in place. The car has to do 70% of the distance. So that's really the first task, I think, Johnny, when you start one of these long ones. You've got to get to that fourth quarter. If it was a basketball game, you want to be in the game in the fourth quarter.
Well, and you know what? It brings me back to 2001. Ron Fellows and I, we come into this race. We're leading the championship. We've got to do like 80 laps or whatever to get the championship. And like 16 laps in, we had a battery problem. And it was game over, and Terry Borcheller and the Celine won the championship that last year. There was a lot of angry feelings at the end of the day. We didn't sleep too well. But, point being, you come in here, you might have a 14-point lead in the championship or a 16-point lead. You still have a lot to do in order to close this chapter out.
Well, they've won the Manufacturers' Championship, Corvette has, the Team Championship, but they want another Drivers' Championship. For more, here's Jamie in Corvette.
Well, it's been 3 race wins this season and consistent finishes otherwise that have put Antonio Garcia and Jan Magnussen into that GT driver points lead. So, Jan, last race of the season. It's not locked up just yet. So what's the strategy for the team?
Well, I think what we've been doing so far has worked really well for us, kind of driving our own race. I think the pressure is more on the 56 than it is on us, really. So I think we'll just go out there and do what we've been doing so far. Just push on and make the most of every opportunity.
Beginning with the first practice session this weekend, you guys have not been at the top of the time sheets, which is something that's surprised us a little bit. I know you've been trying things, but how close are the Corvettes to getting to the top?
Well, I think actually we're a little bit closer than we have been here at Road Atlanta. I think we have a lot of data at this track. We know this place really well. Car's getting old. There's not much more we can try. So I think we're making the most of it. We've been sort of top 5 the most of the time. The wet sessions were really good for us, but it won't be wet now. But we'll see in qualifying where we end up. Qualifying at VIR was pretty poor for us, but our race pace is a lot stronger than our qualifying pace usually, so we're not that worried.
With this being the last race of the American Le Mans Series, how important is it to you guys to go home with a victory?
Well, the championship is the most important thing, and we have to work around that, see where we are and what we have to do to get the championship. To get the last race win in the ALMS would be fantastic, but the championship is number 1.
All right, and he mentioned that championship was most important. It's Dirk Mueller who's right behind him. Maybe we'll talk to him later. Thank you, Jan.
Thanks.
Well, the other thing that you may have heard during that interview is something else that's important, and that's teamwork. The guys practicing pit stops right behind him. This race can be won or lost. The championship can be won or lost on pit lane.
Yeah, and Jan believes that he's got the best team in the business. You've run with them for many years, Johnny, and they really excel in pit lane with their pit work, their efficiency, and just strategy as well. So that's an ace card to have for one of these races.
Yeah, exactly, Calvin. But up and down pit lane, every single team practices. I mean, I was talking to the Viper guys earlier, and they knew that early in the season that was a weakness for them. They have pushed themselves to get better at that, and so when you get into pit lane right now, everybody's pretty equal.
And the other team pushing hard to stay in this championship fight and take the victory here is BMW, and Kelly's there.
And Dirk Mueller knows that this is basically a win or nothing here at Petit Le Mans. I'd imagine you will be doing qualifying, so we'll keep it short. But what's sort of the attitude coming into a race where it's kind of go for bust?
Well, first of all, I'm really, really happy that the sun is back out here, and so that we're getting all warmed up and all the mud dries out there, and we're going to have a dry race tomorrow. Well, you know, qualifying today is not really that important as the race is so long, but it's always fun. It's always nice to be there, and well, yes, we have now Bill on our car, and Bill was meant to be, you know, doing qualifying on the 55, but as we have changed the driver lineup a little bit before, so it's me doing the 56, and it's Jörg doing the other one. So the two Mueller Germans doing the pleasure in that qualifying here, and heads up for tomorrow. We want to win that race.
The times in practices, BMW is sort of a mid-pack, but they're really close times. What are your expectations in this qualifying?
Well, it's weird. On Wednesday I did P1, and that was a little bit unexpected, to be honest. And the times, they're close. I think they're closer than I would have expected, and let's see.
All right. Good luck. We'll see you out there.
We heard Dirk Mueller say they've moved drivers around. He'll share a car with Bill Auberlen this week here at Road Atlanta. Johnny, you not only know the track well, you live nearby. Give us a lap around Road Atlanta using Google Earth.
You know what? I love this racetrack, Brian, and most guys do. Why? Because it's very fast with great overtaking areas. As we go into turn one here, you're in the 6th gear, braking down into 5th, up a big hill. These S's right here, one of the most challenging, dangerous parts of the racetrack. But when you get to this long back straightaway, that is where most of the overtaking is going to be taking place, right here, going into turn 10. This track, really, it's old school. You don't have much room to make a mistake, and if you do, it's going to be a big one.
I think Johnny's house is right back there.
Yeah.
Just up the way, GTC cars now on track. And what's going to happen, it's going to take a lap or two to get some temperature and pressures in these Yokohama tires. So lap times will begin to fall down just a little bit. The GTC or the GT Challenge category, remember, one of the spec categories, one of two in the American Le Mans Series, all identical 911 GT3 Cup Porsches, and very, very quick race cars. In fact, in a straight line, just as quick as some of the GT competitors out there, and that can lead to some frustration. All run on Yokohama tires.
Damien Falk talked about the fact they were making a big setup change, Johnny, because with the racetrack, a lot of rain, they kind of lost their way a little bit in that final practice session this morning. So this turns into a bit of a test session as well. However, with the challenge classes, LMPC and GTC, there's not much they can do to the cars during the quality session, just tire pressures essentially. So you pretty much got to when you get behind the wheel and head out there.
Well, and it's one of those deals where when you go into qualifying, do you want a qualifying setup or are you working towards a race setup? And if you feel confident with your race setup, then you can gamble a little bit going for a qualifying setup. And what is that really? Well, when I go into qualifying, if I could get my car to oversteer more or be, you know, a little bit on the loose side, that forces me back to the throttle, and I can hold on to that for 5 or 10 laps to try to put a good lap down. But trying to race that way makes it much more difficult.
Spencer Pumpelly in the 45 from Flying Lizard. You saw him. He's looking for their third pole of the season. Each time they've qualified on pole, they've won. There's the championship leader, the white 22, the WeatherTech Porsche from Alex Job Racing. Jerome Bleekmolen behind the wheel. He's at the top of the charts right now, but I can almost guarantee you that's going to change.
Yeah, those times are going to tumble, certainly as these Yokohama tire pressures come up and the temperatures come in. And Bleekmolen has 4 poles to his name this year. Pumpelly has a couple, Faulkner has 2. Including the last 2, in fact, and Andy Lally started the season with a great pole position for Dempsey Racing at Sebring.
The thing that's interesting at GT Challenge, when you look at the winners and you go down and you look at the list of them, at least 5 times that I see, 5 times in 9 events, the pole sitter has gone on to win the race. There's Jeroen Bleekemolen right now. Spencer Pumpelly on top. Bleekemolen across the line.
You know what? And it is so cool because these guys right now are setting themselves up. You got Bleekemolen there in the lead. He's kind of the rabbit to the guys behind him. He knows that. He's going to try to pull away those guys behind him. They're kind of using him as a gauge to how deep to go into the corners. This is when qualifying really becomes like chess, using your other competitors to either push you or drag you down the racetrack.
Yeah, and I think what Bleekemolen did there in the early couple of laps, just got a feel for his race car. He's backed it off now, so he doesn't have any traffic. This should be a hot lap for Bleekemolen.
Damian Faulkner, who has taken the 66 TRG Porsche to the checkered flag to victory the last 2 rounds, comes across the line, and
he's just getting out. So yeah, that's his first lap. You can see him trying to weave back and forth there, get a little fires. But right there, this guy, Jeroen Bleekemolen, is so cool to watch because he hangs it out in these qualifying sessions. They just come down to the wire with these guys digging so deep. And the one thing, you know, Brian, that I love hearing is the radio communication. When you hear a guy telling you, okay, you're minus 0.2, knowing you as a driver need to dig a little bit deeper.
And this class, Johnny, has just been fantastic this year. When you look at some of the teams, TRG, the Lizard Boys, Alex Job Racing, JDX, the Momo team, then you've got closers like Bleekemolen, Pumpelly, Lally. I mean, these challenge classes are something else this year.
Here comes Bleekemolen to the line. Pumpelly on top. Take a look at the pylon over to the side. He's there in P2. Nicholas Armindo up to 3rd. Andy Lally back to 4th. Andy Lally in 4th. That team just not really had the year that they wanted to have as far as qualifying goes and with the results.
P2 with a 24.4.
The radio traffic coming in.
Lally's up to 2nd, so he just pitched Bleekemolen there, and that's really a key indicator, I think. That was a hot lap for Jeroen, and he's nearly half a second off Pumpelly's best so far, Johnny.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting. Now, Pumpelly, I am guessing, is on his own. He's working it himself. You saw right there, Bleekemolen get out of it, though. He doesn't want to drag another guy along.
Nicholas Armindo there in the 31, a little history there when you look at the Momo paint scheme on that Porsche. That was the team car to the 30 that Enrique Cisneros and Sean Edwards drove. The 30 has been withdrawn. The 31 will run this weekend, and Armindo just kind of cruising right now, perhaps cooling off those Yokohama tires.
There seems to be a trend here in this session so far anyway. The cars that we've been observing kind of do a hot lap, then back it off. I think they don't want to get too much heat into those Yokohama tires. Chance to regroup, think about the lap you just did. Where can I improve a little bit? Not just keep beating around here. Let's find the clear lap, find the space on the racetrack, and then go out and execute one.
And when the sun came out, the track temperature is going up and going up rapidly. So trying to make sure that they've got a handle on these cars is going to be difficult. There's a look at Faulkner, who's now getting up to speed. One of the Dempsey Racing
10 car.
Yeah.
Charles Espenlabi had an off earlier today in the practice session. So it hasn't been a smooth weekend.
Well off there at turn 7, and the problem is with the rain that we've had, the grass, and especially this red Georgia clay, very wet. You get off the racetrack, you're probably going to make contact. Faulkner now through 10A and 10B. He'll go up the hill underneath the bridge through the very fast turn 12. We'll see what kind of a Porsche he has underneath him. There's a look at the qualifying pylon right now. Pumpelly on top, followed by Lally. Damian Faulkner's first lap puts him in 4th.
A decent lap, almost a second off of Spencer's best, so he's got to keep digging deep. He's hoping, certainly the pit box is hoping that those last-minute changes they did, Johnny, are going to come to him.
Well, and here's the interesting thing as I'm watching this. Historically, as we go back through the year, it is the last minute or two when the fast lap has been thrown down in this category. So I am surprised that guys are just idling around here, because if I've got 15 minutes to qualify, I am going to be digging every single lap, knowing my car is going to get faster and faster.
And that's typically what we see. So, I mean, you're right, Johnny. It's kind of off song or off strategy. And I wonder if this green racetrack and this bright sunshine has something to do with it. Faulkner pushing hard through 7. He's got 2 cars in front of him off the pace.
Spencer's had a backup lap, which is a 10th off his pole, but 2 laps now faster than the rest of the field. And he just laid a slow one down just to cool those tires off, maybe hit traffic. So there's a real strategy to this game. Do you keep kind of pounding around, as you said, Johnny, and just let the racetrack come to you? It's been washed off with the amount of rain we've had the last couple of days. So theoretically, as the fuel load goes away and the track rubber's in again a little bit, these last couple of laps should be really quick.
Yeah, I got to tell you, Calvin, I'm running hard and hard and hard. And right now, I think Damian Faulkner is in a good position because he's going to carry a lot of momentum right now. He's got Bleekemolen right in front of him.
Dips
he
into the
didn't
24s, but didn't improve.
He actually went back in the order. He improved on his lap time, we should say, but he's fallen back in the order. Looks like Bleekemolen and Andy Lally will now pick up the pace and see if they can put another fast one in. But yeah, a very different qualifying session than we have seen for the previous 9 rounds. 10 minutes has been met in the session, and what makes that so important is that the session is now official.
You know what? One of the cool things about this category, and we've spoken about it before, but you know what? You might not know who Damian Faulkner is. You know, you might not know who Jerome Bleekemolen. You might know Andy Lally and all these other guys. These guys are top-line Porsche experts. These guys, anywhere in the world, could hop in a Porsche and haul the mail. These guys are super fast, and they might not be Porsche factory guys, but they are recognized by Porsche as being genius in this category.
And you were talking about that radio communication and how cool it is to listen to. Well, Jerome Bleekemolen's been on the radio with his engineer, Greg Jones, and they've been talking about Spencer Pumpelly and the lap that he did last. And Jerome said, you know, I think I can get to that time. He said he made a mistake on his last flyer. He did take 2 laps off just to cool down those tires, but this is the one that they're going after. He said he thinks that he has one more good lap in there, so let's see what he can throw down.
We're about to find out because he comes across the line.
No, slower. No. A couple of tenths off his best and some 6 tenths off of Spencer's pole time right now. So maybe Spencer's lap that he did in very early relatively in this session, Johnny, maybe that can hold up, but just under 4 minutes to go still.
I think what's important, Spencer Pumpelly, Andy Lally have probably thousands of laps around this racetrack. Both of them live nearby, do a lot of testing here, so perhaps a little local track knowledge when it came time to going to that green racetrack. They could kind of help direct their team to the setup that they were going to need to go quickly, because right now Pumpelly on top, Andy Lally just 3 tenths behind.
Typically we see the times a little bit closer in terms of how packed up they are, normally by just a tenth or two. So I think this weather this week has really thrown everyone a bit of a curveball. There we see Bleekemolen had bought that lap, got a little bit too loose there coming off a 7, Johnny. The lap was not going to be good, so just save those tires a little bit.
You know what? It's shocking to me, you know, the way this is going down, because normally we just see these guys dig and dig and dig. Now they get a lap, they give up a lap, as we see the 22 car doing right there, to have one more go at it. But Spencer Pumpelly, you know what, I got to tell you, to do that lap on his 2nd lap, you know, that flying lizard is flying.
Say that again.
I've been waiting all year to say that. That flying lizard is flying.
Andy Lally pushing hard. You saw a little puff, a little touch of lockup from the left front into 10A. Does Lally have anything for Pumpelly? He's waited till the end.
Well, you talk about local drivers. This is also a local team. Dempsey Racing, and they'd love to get it. They've got a lot of support here this weekend. Lally crosses the line, and no, he's 3 tenths off his previous best. So they're digging deep, but it just doesn't seem like the performance is there.
We got, man. Sideways. Pit this lap, everybody's getting slower.
Maybe they just misguessed in terms of tire initial starting pressures. Maybe they're overpressured or something, Johnny.
You know, but here's the thing. What is going to be happening is up and down the pits right now, those guys in the GT category, whether it be a Ferrari, a Porsche, a Viper, you know, a Corvette, they're seeing what went on going on down here, and they're like, man, we're going to have to nail that lap early.
Excellent point. Spencer Pumpelly on top, and the other teams wondering what's going on. You heard Lars Giersing on the radio to Andy Lally. Pit this lap. Everybody else is doing the same thing. They know that it's all for naught now. If you just keep pushing, you're just going to put more miles on those tires, and those are the tires you'll have to start the race on.
You know, and real quick, to everybody out there, qualifying doesn't matter, except for Spencer Pumpelly.
Yeah, everyone will come in and say, oh, we were just working on race setup. We weren't really going for it, but Spencer did a brilliant job there and set it very early. He's actually improved on it. I think 24.1, that was still his previous best. So great lap there, and it came early, so maybe the pressures got a little bit too high. Maybe if they start a little bit lower starting pressures, the pressures build with the heat, of course, from the track and through the wheel and through the tire. So maybe they just got over the efficiency point there.
Jerome Bleekemolen's going to get one
No, you have
more.
this. No, you have this.
Oh, and they're coaching him.
Yeah.
No, you have this.
Yeah.
All right, so dig, baby.
Come on.
Bring it in.
Yeah, talking him around. Now Bleekemolen through turn 1.
And this would be an emotional pole position for Bleekemolen if he could pull this off. Everyone's spoken about the sad news with Sean Edwards this week. Jerome was very close with Sean, a little bit loose there coming through 3. He's hanging it out there, but he was in fact texting with Sean Edwards right before Sean had that awful accident earlier this week in Australia. So he came here with tears in his eyes. He'd love to put it on the pole.
And he's working in the car, Johnny. You see those hands.
He is digging, and it's a whole lot easier to take those chances when you don't own it.
Spencer Pumpelly on the box down at Flying Lizard looking on. He's wondering if Jerome Bleekemolen can do it. Bleekemolen incredibly quick. The checkered flag is already out, so this will be the last lap. And you look back through the year, 4 different times the 22 has started from the pole, so it would not be an uncommon sight at all to see Jerome Bleekemolen pull one out on the last lap. What does he have? Pumpelly is done. Lally is done. Look at Spencer.
Everyone's fast lap was set within the first 4 laps of being out there on the racetrack, so this would really be pulling a rabbit out of the hat here if he can do it on his final lap.
Well, and he's staying with it, which means he's going to be close. He's got a predicted lap time.
He believes he's there. Look at the pylon on the left. He moves to P2. Moves to second place, just short for Spencer Pumpelly, the 3rd GTC pole of the season. And every time they have started from the pole, that Flying Lizard entry has won. Is that a little bit of foreshadowing for tomorrow? 1,000 miles or 10 hours they'll have to endure to do it. There's a look at the qualifying order, and what a great lap by Bleekemolen. You heard the team say, no, you have this.
Which, when you're a driver, you love that.
Yeah.
They're like, take your chances. Go, go, go. I mean, when your guys are egging you on and pushing you, that's a great feeling.
Yeah, he dug really deep there. He found a 10th, but he couldn't find the 4 tenths that he needed. So superb job by Spencer there. He'll be really pumped up, let's call it that, to get his home pole position. That's awesome.
And like you said, he did it very quickly. His first Petit Le Mans pole. To hear from our pole sitter in GTC, let's go down to Jamie.
But you think he'd be a lot more pumped up. I think he's calmed down a little bit. Spencer, you got that lap early on. What were you able to find?
We did a mock qualifying run in practice and found out that the right front takes a long time to warm up here. So on the out lap, I made sure I got that right front nice and warm and actually took another medium speed one before I actually tried it. So it was good and ready to go when all the tires were at their best. And I think every other lap we did after that was slower. So we just happened to hit the window. But, you know, I love racing GTC. It's the best guys in the world out here in these Porsches. And I just, it's a heavy heart knowing that we have a big, one of the best in the world isn't out here with us today. So congrats to all the guys at Lizards. Thanks for everyone. Sean, we miss you, man.
When we're out here racing tomorrow, what are your expectations for that 10-hour race?
I expect to see an incredible drive from Nelson Canach and Madison Snow. I've said this all year. Our plan is always let those guys go crazy, put me in at the end, and hopefully I'll have the easiest job of anyone out here. So far we've had, bad luck and things have gotten in the way of that, but I don't want to take anything away from Flying Lizard, Nelson, and then a great job this weekend for Madison Snow. My expectation is we lead most of the race with those young guys kicking butt, and hopefully the old man will get it in the end.
Well, you said before qualifying bragging rights were definitely on the line. You got those. Congratulations.
Thanks.
The old man?
I was going to say, he's not old. He's a puppy.
Yeah, compared to all of us sitting up here, my God, he's a child. Well, GT Challenge is done now. It's time for GT. Also a fan favorite, and one of the favorites back in the series that reappeared last year, the Snake, Viper, SRT Viper is back, and they've already won this year. To win Petit Le Mans would be special for that team. One of the favorite drivers that all the fans love at Viper is down with Chris Neville.
Yeah, Brian, one thing I've heard all day today is the speed of the Vipers on the straightaway. You talked about that win coming from Road America earlier this year. Well, now they definitely would like to get a win at an endurance race. And Tommy, we often hear that qualifying isn't that important, but for one class, GT, with the manufacturer involvement, is there more pressure to qualify up front?
I don't know if pressure's the right word. I mean, our program, each step along the way, we had very, very realistic goals at first that weren't very high, but those have gone, and we're light years ahead of where we were a year ago. And Mark put the one car third last year, and we were like, where did that come from? I think we would be disappointed with third this year. There's not a lot of pressure per se, but we'd like to have both cars up front.
You know, earlier we heard Jan Magnussen talk about the Corvettes being a little bit long in the tooth. You guys still very early in the development cycle of this car, but you've been a part-time guy this year. So do you see big steps forward?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, it's we had an issue with we had really reduced traction control at Le Mans with all the rain conditions and so forth. So we're back to the TC has come a long way. Every part of the car and little things you don't know, like systems, like how quickly does the car start when it's coming off the jacks. All the little things you got to figure out. I mean, we're making it's relentless the attention, and everyone's doing the same thing. But there's a little more low-hanging fruit for us, and so we're in the hunt.
Well, Tommy Kendall celebrated a birthday yesterday. He'd like to celebrate a win tomorrow. Kelly?
Well, Chris, it's been a very difficult, at times disastrous season for Risi Ferrari, but a bright spot at the last round at VIR. You come away with the win. Olivier Beretta, that must have been a morale and confidence booster for this team.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was a great result for the mechanic, for Giuseppe Risi, for the whole team, even for Ferrari, for Michelin, for everyone who has worked very hard. We have been unlucky, but VIR has shown that we can still win. And today I'm very confident the car will be fast. Matteo will do a good job. Robin join us. I think we have a good lineup, and now we just need to go into the race.
Yeah, you guys have looked very quick in all the practices. How important is it to finish on a high note or with a win here at Petit?
Well, it's always nice to be on the top of the page than on the last of the page, but the race is still long. The car is good. The team has done a good job. We are very confident, but we have to see what the others are going to do now.
And for you personally, a long time with Corvette, spent all those years with Corvette, you've been such a big part of this series. What does it mean to you to have a good showing here at the final race of the American Le Mans Series?
Well, I have been part of the ALMS since the beginning. I have raced here with Viper and Chrysler, with Chevrolet and Corvette, and now with Ferrari. I love the championships. I love the ALMS. I love all the fan, the way that they did the championships. Don Panos has created that idea many years ago, and has been grew up. Now we are going through a new page, but it's true that tomorrow evening it will be a little sadness.
Right, his teammate Matteo Malicelli out doing qualifying duties. Thank you, Olivier.
Olivier Beretta with 4 victories here at Petit Le Mans. He'd like to get a 5th, and that would tie him for multiple wins here. GT, we talk about the classes, the cars you want to drive. It's Porsche, Corvette, Viper, Ferrari, BMW. All of them a maximum of 5.5 liters, except the Viper, 8 liters in those cars, and rocket ships down the straightaway, but also very, very high tech. You heard Tommy Kendall talk about traction control, how quickly does the car start coming off the jacks. Johnny, all those little bits and pieces add up to victory or third.
Yeah, as does qualifying. I mean, these are a lot of very light, angry beasts, and I got to tell you, they are so athletic to drive these cars around this racetrack where the Ferrari Matteo Malicelli is going through right now. That's 10A, 10B, your 3rd gear, 4th gear, underneath this bridge, and the world falls away from you. TV doesn't do justice just how fast you're going through there. 5th gear, flat out, about 135 miles an hour through turn 12. If you get that wrong, man, it's going to be big.
Yeah, and particularly with the rain we've had here, if you drop a wheel here this weekend, even tomorrow when it dries out a little bit more, it is a rough ride. As you can see, those concrete walls are not far away. So these guys are putting on the line here. This is a manufacturer battle zone right here in this GT category. It's sensational stuff. And you look at the manufacturers involved and the top tier drivers. The Ferrari got a little bit of a balance of performance, air restrictor brake at COTA, and it certainly made a difference, Brian.
It made a huge difference, and to the chagrin of many of the other manufacturers, it is now one of the fastest cars down the straightaway. Everybody looked at the 8 liters in the Viper and said, well, it's going to be so fast down the straightaway. The fact of the matter is, it is not the fastest GT car down the straightaway. Right now, the Ferrari certainly is. You're right on board, though, the 93 Viper. Viper with 1 victory on the season, 3 pole positions, so that car has come a long, long way in its development. And to note, it was very good at COTA in the high-speed S's, high-speed handling. That's what you need here at Road Atlanta, and these cars have looked good this weekend.
They've looked really good, and Jonathan Bomarito has really been a star since he really had a coming-out party here at Petit Le Mans last year. He was one of the enduro drivers, and his performance here last year, Johnny, really, we talked about making a statement in qualifying, but in this race as well. This is the time to make it happen. Jonathan Bomarito made it happen last year and got a full-time ride because of that.
He was a hero. I mean, during that race, you could see the lap times of their normal guys, and then boom, You bring in a guy like Bomarito, he's learning the car, and you go halfway through a stint and he's smoking the other guys. And that's the kind of thing. And there's so many of those opportunities available as he kills the curb in turn 3 there. One of those times where, once again, it's good when you don't own the car. But, I mean, obviously showed himself to be a talent, and we've seen it all season long. This guy is just flat out fast.
One of the keys with these GT cars is you want good platform on the front end. You want it to change direction well through the chicane, but you need it to blow off that shock valving when you hit those bumps. So getting that notebook together, like Tommy Kennel said, we were a long way behind the 8-ball last year. We pulled one out the bag with 3rd in qualifying. That was a surprise. But they have so many more notes to work from now. The car has really been transformed.
Well, and improving everything. I mean, you can see the Viper this year. It's just so much more well-mannered. One of the things that Tommy talked about was track control. What is that? Well, that's, how the rear end of the car is controlled. And when you have so much horsepower and limited grip in the rear, it's that traction control that really allows you to cleanly exit a corner without getting sideways.
Manufacturers not only in the automobiles, but in tire manufacturers as well. Michelin's on the number 3 Corvette that you ride with down into 10A and B. Matteo Malicelli being shown on pole. Brian Sellers inside the top 5 now. Falcon tires on his Porsche. Michelin's on the Corvette. There's the qualifying pylon. And Garcia across the line. Does he improve? Nope.
P2 minus 3/4. P2 minus 3/4.
Same 1/10 of a second.
That was a really nice lap by Malicelli there. That Ferrari looks awesome here this weekend. Showing pace early in the session, Johnny. A good indicator.
Well, you know what? And we saw it at VIR. And again, I wasn't at that race, but of course I watched it on TV. And the way they were passing everybody on the straightaways was just like, man, that's a slippery car.
There's the number 17 Team Falcon Tire Porsche. You're used to seeing a different livery, I would imagine. Well, contest winner. Pick the color scheme. They put it on the car. It runs here, and it's got that gaping, evil-looking grill on the front with one gold tooth.
Yes. I like the gold tooth, though.
It's 50 cents.
It's some bling. It's some bling.
It's a 50-cent Porsche.
This team very quick when it was wet, and right now they've got a good run going.
Sellers up to
Sellers
3rd.
jumps to 3rd. Yeah, they've got a good run going. This has been such a frustrating year. They had a great run at Sebring, finished on the podium there. Great run at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, but a technical infraction took the victory away. And then after that, they haven't been able to do anything. So now, showing some speed back.
But right now, Brian, everybody's getting fast because you got the 93 of Bomarito. He's gone in 18.9. That's only a 10th, less than a 10th behind that Malicelli. Mueller in the BMW, right there. Okay, again, remember, these tires, it takes them a couple laps to get their grip, to get the tire pressure, and right now these guys are hanging it out.
You guys talk about tire pressure, but I think the thing that's important, everybody at home understands that when the tire gets hotter, it gets stickier, so you get more grip. But the pressure's important because it stiffens up the sidewall. It works like a suspension piece.
Yeah, it's almost like a tuning tool. If you get that pressure correct, you're getting the right spring rate through the axle of the car, and that's what it's all about, is having great balance. I mean, there's one thing to have grip, but you need it front and rear. You need that perfect balance to be able to lay down a lap time.
And right now, what you saw right there is Bomarito, as he came out of turn 7, he was a little bit ugly, so he got out of that. He might be giving it one more opportunity. Let's see how he goes through 10A and 10B, and if he exits 10B and pulls the trigger, he's going to have one more go, because getting the pole is important.
That's where that traction control will really be kicking in there, where he's hard on the power, and mashing the gas pedal.
This is so much fun.
He's going to get another run at it. So now Bomarito back in the throttle as he rushes down the hill through 12 and starts another lap here, qualifying for the 16th annual Tequila Patron Petit Le Mans.
And can we talk about how do you get a pole? You get a pole by not just braking later, but oftentimes braking lighter. It's those little things, because sometimes when you brake a little bit later, Calvin, you'll remember, it upsets your balance on entries. But sometimes it's just a little bit softer footwork, and you can get those pole positions.
You got to keep that platform there, and you're right, Johnny. If you suddenly jump on the brakes a little bit deeper into the corner, you pin the nose of the car right there. The splitter gets down, and it creates more downforce and changes the balance of the car on entry. Then you've got to wait on it. So you've got to be really efficient in terms of where you're trying to pull that lap time from.
Bomarito just 4/100ths of a second off of Matteo Malicelli, trying to improve on this lap. Sellers in the Porsche, a nice job of staying out of Bomarito's way, letting him have the clear run down the straightaway. Very professional move by Sellers. You would expect that down into the braking zone. What does Bomarito have?
Carrying his momentum, using the curb.
Looks good. He was hustling there, but he didn't get it sideways. Looks like a good, efficient lap.
The Ferrari heads to pit lane. You saw him dive to the inside. Matteo Malicelli to the pits. Bomarito.
Oh, he goes quicker.
Still not quite enough.
How do you go quicker?
400ths of a second. He's still off the ball, but he is digging deep.
Look at that difference.
And remember, the difference in this category versus GTC, they can come to pit lane and make an adjustment.
Now that looked nice going turn 3 there, where you really cut that curb, boy. Some guys have an art form to it. They do it really well. Oliver Gavin's one of those guys. Obviously, Bomarito right here. He's got a good one going.
Yeah, he does, but he looks a little bit wide through the S's. Missed the apex on turn 5 a little bit. Maybe he's pushing harder. Maybe the front end is not giving it to him.
Right now, Ferrari, followed by Viper, BMW, and Corvette. 4 different manufacturers in the top 4. Bomarito looked like he was off of it as he came out of 7. 10 minutes has been met. The session is official. So if someone were to have a problem now and stop the session, it would be official. That's good news for the guys who have the lap times in. Matteo Malicelli has climbed out of the 62. What he's put in is going to have to be good enough. Bomarito still has time.
Yeah, Goossens is third, Dirk Mueller, but those guys are 3 or 4 tenths off the pole position. Sellers still sits in 6th, which is a great performance. Remember, that's the old spec Porsche, couple-of-year-old car. They destroyed their current car at Baltimore and had to go to a backup machine.
Oh, and how frustrating for Jonathan Bomarito. As close as he was, 2 laps, almost
P5, 6/100ths to P3, 6/100ths to P3.
That's the radio call to Antonio Garcia.
The balancing act here, too, is strategy for the start of the race. You're only allowed to change 1 of the 4 qualifying tires that you're laying these laps down with, Johnny. So if you burn them down too much, you're going to pay the price come race time tomorrow when that green flag starts.
And it's something the engineers are thinking about. You know, and again, right now, Garcia, he knows how much he needs to go up into P3. And you know what I love? You know, here's a team. Right now, the number 3 Corvette, there's a championship on the line, and you heard Magnussen think, the championship's all that matters. This is what I talk about drivers being gunfighters. This is Antonio Garcia wanting to show the world, this is how fast I am, this is how I can manhandle a Corvette, man. And I tell you what, he's digging.
This is 0.3 of a second spread around 12 corners around this racetrack. You can't see the difference. You physically couldn't watch it and see it. It's 2 feet later in a braking zone, half a mile an hour through an apex, and Garcia thinks he's still got a shot at it.
Well, he'd love the pole, but I think more importantly, he'd love to leapfrog Dirk Mueller. Remember, Dirk Mueller is the man that Garcia and Magnussen are going up for in this championship. They love to have them behind them and controlling the pace in the early going.
Why would that be? There's no ego in qualifying, or?
No, there's a lot of ego, and also, you know what, Antonio's
Just to clarify, Nick.
He brought his girlfriend over here from España. So, you know,
Where's that?
Yeah, that's on the other side of the ocean.
Johnny O'Connell.
How do you get there from here?
Geography. You don't drive, I'm pretty sure, but Garcia driving hard to see if he can improve. Can he get past Mueller? Can he get to the pole through 12 across the line?
He does.
He does.
Oh,
he goes to P3.
Nice job,
Garcia.
P3. Nice job.
Danny Binks on the radio. You've heard that voice before.
Yeah, and it's a great feeling. You know what? When you deliver like that for your team, you know, it's very much a definite moment to everybody else out there. But an awesome job by Antonio. There's a guy that wants his first championship.
It's not over yet because the 91 Viper is still out there. Mark Goossens looks like he's perhaps cooling things down a little bit down the back straightaway. We still have right at 2 minutes to go, so Goossens certainly has another lap if he wants it.
And there's an ego, certainly, in terms of being on the pole, but there's a bigger ego in these squads. These are 2-car teams. You don't want to come in after qualifying and being the second fastest within your camp.
Goossens to third. I thought he was cooling tires a little bit on the back straightaway. Obviously, that was not the case.
He's still on it.
And he's still on it. He knows that with 1/10, he can get in front of his teammate.
Contract time.
Contract time, always.
Right now, it's Ferrari, then the 2 Vipers, then Garcia in 4th, Dirk Mueller in the BMW in 5th, Brian Sellers in 6th, Goossens still pressing, Garcia still on it down the back straightaway.
I'm sure if he's pulled it a little bit. Yeah, I think he may be coming to pit lane. Looks like he's out of it. So he gave everything he could. He wrung the neck of that Corvette, good enough for 4th, and gets him ahead of his championship contender, Dirk Mueller in the BMW.
And, you know, the guys have said it, and Johnny, you know it, that C6, this is its last race. It'll be the new C7R next year, and the technology moves so quickly and the strides are made so quickly that once that car gets a couple of years old, you need a new arrow in the quiver. You need something else to go after the other guys.
Ego is big. I know I wanted the last win ever in a GT1 Corvette, and these guys definitely carry
some speed in there. He is hustling.
You know, that's how it looks like when I play, Forza. It's just a little bit unbalanced.
Yeah, but there's a reset button there on Forza. I've said that plenty of times before. Across the line, Goossens. No,
it was a good lap, but a 10th off his previous best. I would think that will be all he's got in his arsenal here today. And this is significant. BMW had 3 poles in a row. Oberlin at Baltimore, Joey Hand at Coda, Maxime Martin at VIR. So they're breaking a bit of a streak here that BMW had held in qualifying.
For Matteo Malicelli, his second pole of the season. Heard him say nice job, Mark, to Mark Goossens for the job that he did to move into the top 3. But for Risi Competizione, they'll claim another pole position, and that's the 3rd on the season. But more importantly, they got to be looking back to Circuit of the Americas and the restrictor brake that they got there. And you look at that long back straightaway here at Road Atlanta and be thankful for the larger restrictor.
Yeah, I spoke to Giuseppe Risi this morning. He said, yes, it's made a difference. It's about 15, 20 horsepower, but he said that Viper is still awfully strong. So we're still playing the game here this morning, even though they've certainly bumped things up, Johnny.
You know what? Ferrari out front, last, Petit Le Mans, the American Le Mans Series, there's nothing wrong with that.
3rd straight pole for a Ferrari here at Petit Le Mans. So impressive stuff by Matteo Malicelli. And that Ferrari, the way it's balanced, where the engine is placed in it, it's good to tires. It handles well through the high-speed sections of this racetrack. The question is, can they bring it home and take the victory? Well, for more, maybe we can find the answer in a little foreshadowing from Matteo Malicelli himself. He's with Kelly.
It was by the skin of his teeth that he gets the pole position. Matteo Malicelli, you climbed out with 5 minutes to go. You must have been pretty confident that you had gotten absolutely everything out of this Ferrari that you could.
Yeah, it was confidence also because I have no more. So I hope that my lap should be enough. And I'm happy because we start from the best position for the race. I know the race will be 9 hours, so it's nothing. But we are working very well and we are a good team, so I hope for the race.
How comfortable you're with this car, not just for a couple quick laps, but for the duration of the long race. Is it a good setup for this long race?
Yeah, I think we have some problem with rain, but maybe for tomorrow the forecast now is good, so I think for dry we can fight.
After the tough season that you guys have had to get that win and now get on pole here at Petit Le Mans, does this give you a boost?
Yeah, I don't know, but we work a lot. We improve our strategy, our friendship, and now I think we can fight for the race tomorrow.
All right, congratulations, Matteo.
And Ferrari's not only on pole the last 3 years, but they've also taken the victory here the last 2 years in the GT category. So perhaps good things ahead for the Ferrari. Speaking of ahead, here's a look at the schedule for tomorrow, 11 to noon on Fox Sports 2. We'll be back at 2:30 to 6:30 on Fox Sports 2, then 6:30 to 8 on Fox Sports 1, 8 to 9 on Fox Sports 2. And, of course, the entire race available on ALMS.com, Fox Sports Go, and Speed2.com. We're going to take a quick break from here at Road Atlanta and qualifying. When we come back, the prototypes will be up. Bob Varsha, Dorsey Schrader, and Justin Bell will join you on the other side.
Trend battery tender battery chargers. Just like the everyday consumer, the racing community knows the importance of a healthy charge. Deltran Battery Tender is the trusted charger for some of the most respected brands in the world today. Don't let a dead battery ruin your fun or work. If you can't start it, you can't drive it. Connect a Deltran Battery Tender battery charger to all of your batteries. Available at these fine retailers. If it's not a Deltran Battery Tender, it's just a pretender.
We all know what a horseless carriage is. Had to ride in the back of them with parents that could never give us a satisfactory answer to the question, are we almost there yet? And we long for the day when we could get portraits of our zit-ridden faces laminated onto plastic cards that would give us the authority to cruise up and down Main Street and burn a little rubber without any adult supervision. The average 16-year-old boy in America would rather have his own set of wheels than make out with the captain of the varsity cheerleader squad. How can we desire a machine more than another human being? Every driving machine has a body, but for a cube of metal to become a living, breathing entity worthy of our passion, it must have a soul. So it is up to the maker of the machine to breathe life into its creation. The machine cannot say it's greater than the maker, nor can the maker say the machine is beneath him. because through the process, the two have become one.
Rated E for everyone. We dream of speed, of pushing to the limit and beyond. We dream of racing the ghosts of history, of perfect passes and podium finishes. We dream to compete. We dream to win.
Xbox 360, starting at $99.
Everything we ever thought up. Everything we fight for. Everything we dream of. Everything we are. The 911. Porsche identity.
Two sessions down, 2 to go in qualifying for the 16th running of the Tequila Patron Petit Le Mans from Road Atlanta. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Varsha, along with Justin Bell and Dorsey Schrader. Our thanks to Brian Till, Calvin Fish, and Johnny O'Connell for taking us through the GT categories. We're ready now for the sleek stars of the show, the prototype classes, beginning with the Le Mans Prototype Challenge cars. A three-way battle for the Drivers' Championship between Mike Gouache, Chris Cumming, and John Bennett. Let's have a look at the points coming in. There you see just 12 points covering the top three in the championship. So each is going to be watching the other as they go through the 10-hour or 1,000-mile race coming your way on the Fox family of networks tomorrow. The question for both you, Justin, and Dorsey is 10-hour race, 1,000 miles. How important is qualifying?
Well, I don't know. For these guys, remember, it is a statement of performance. And when you don't qualify well, Dorsey, you always say, well, I was working on race setup. And when you qualify well, you say, that's how dominant I'm going to be all weekend. So everyone wants to do well out here, especially in these super lightweight, very fast cars.
Fiercely competitive class, fiercely competitive drivers in this class and the teams. There's a rivalry between these teams, and they're not going to let this thing go. It's going down to the wire. Believe me, this is going to be a tough class to win.
And as our colleagues have already mentioned, after heavy rain, it is an evolving racetrack. We had cool temperatures yesterday. We have warm skies here in North Georgia today. Now let's meet the contenders in PC, beginning with Mike Gouache and Chris Neville.
Yeah, Bob, Mike Gouache has 2 wins, PR1, also 6 podiums this year. But, Mike, you had a chance to close out this championship at VIR. A little bit of contact there has left the door open. Have you been able to put VIR behind you?
Yeah, I have to put it behind me. I was maybe a bit aggressive and trying to close the championship up in the last race, but we're still way in the lead. We just need to finish 4th or better. So we just got to keep our noses clean, think, be smart, and finish this race.
Yeah, looking at that championship, this is your first major championship. Hopefully, getting that championship win. You feeling the pressure?
Yeah, the pressure's on, but I'm very confident. We've got a great lineup. We've got a great team. We've bounced back from, so many ups and downs this year. So we just got to do the best we can and just execute. I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, execute. That's what it's all about. And Dane Cameron getting strapped behind the wheel, ready for qualifying, Kelly.
Well, one of his top contenders in that prototype challenge class is Chris Cumming. Chris, after a bit of a rough start to the year, suddenly you find yourself in this championship chase. 2 wins in a row is what got you here. But did you expect to be in this position at Petit, your first year in a PC?
No, especially after Baltimore, we thought we were out of the hunt. We didn't score any points there, and it really put a big dent in our championship run. But, as you said, we just came back the next 2 races. I think we figured out a couple things on the car setup side and have been in the hunt ever since. So, yeah, to be coming here with a chance to win it, I couldn't ask for more.
Hasn't been a perfect weekend for you guys. You had some crash damage from an accident in yesterday's practice. Where's the car at now? I know it still wasn't exactly 100% last night.
Yeah, I think, the guys had to work really hard. They did a great job to get the car back together, but we've been sort of a little bit behind the 8 ball getting the setup we want now, and we're going to see what we have in qualifying. We hope we're close, and we have this and warm up tomorrow to get it right.
All right, well, we'll see what his teammate Kyle Marcelli can do in qualifying. Thank you, Chris. We'll send it down to the third place competitor in PC with Jamie.
And still with an outside shot at this PC Drivers' Championship is John Bennett. He's currently 16 points out of the lead. He's even led the championship at points this season, but John, a penalty is what did you guys in. So where is your focus as we head into the race tomorrow?
I mean, in many ways, it's a similar focus as we've had all year, and that's, one session at a time and basically follow our process to the best finish possible. But yeah, clearly at Petit, the last race of the year, there are a lot of championship implications, and I think we'll worry about that as the race progresses on Saturday. But I think we're in a really good place. The car's been fast, very reliable all week. A bit of a conservative setup on it for qualifying. It's going to get a nice, solid performance this afternoon, and then 10 hours. It's or 1,000 kilometers. It's a long time. There's a lot that can happen, and I think that suits our team.
You mentioned that there are a lot of championship implications for you as a driver and for you as a team owner. There are 2 championships on the line. The drivers and the teams. You're currently tied for the team championship. Personally, which would be more important?
I think, clearly for all the guys that put in the effort, to have our 3rd team championship in a row is very, very important. Personally, I've seen the Drivers' Championship go to our teammate, over the past couple of years, and so I would be lying if I wasn't saying that I was hoping that we could accomplish that for myself. But really, the guys have worked really hard, as all the teams have, and it's nice to have that hard work, repaid with a championship, and I think we've got a good shot.
John's teammate Tom Kimber-Smith has qualifying duties, and they have left pit lane.
All right, thanks very much, Jamie. The clock is counting down the 15-minute session. 10 minutes of it must be green, and you will start on 3 of the 4 qualifying tires. I want to take you back to the most recent round at Virginia International Raceway. This is the incident that Chris and Mike Gouache were talking about earlier.
I mean, coming up through here, I was commentating on this race, and 2 into 1 does not go. They both made a mistake. One of them had to acquiesce, because in sports car racing, as the classic phrase, you do have to finish to win one of these, and I think they've come into this with a lot of lessons learned. And you see the number 18 there had his penalty, and he did not enjoy that.
This was a big accident from yesterday in the rain. Stefan Johansson backed in quite heavily into the barrier. Very significant damage to the right rear, gearbox, wing, all that replaced, but the car certainly wasn't up to speed last night.
Got a good idea of just how wet it was yesterday here at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, it was horrible yesterday. It rained all day, most of the night, so you don't want to get off this racing surface today. When you get off at Road Atlanta, it's always a downhill run into whatever you hit, except for turn 1.
And here comes the 8 down the hill after all that work Chris Cumming talked about. Kyle Marcelli now behind the wheel and about to find his place on the starting grid for Saturday's race.
You have to assume they guessed at a setup today, because last night after the repairing it was not good.
Now let's get down to Chris Neville in the pit lane before the hot times begin hitting the leaderboard. Chris?
Well, Bob, Charlie Shears, Christian Nunez got the win at Baltimore earlier this year. And Charlie, you guys, one of 2 teams that just is going with 2 drivers for this race. How tough is that going to be?
It's going to be pretty tough. Tristan at Sebring did a 3-hour stint, and it was just, as far as how the team has gelled, it just felt good to run 2 drivers this year.
This is a very physical track, but also mental with all these different classes out here. Which is tougher, the physical or the mental aspect?
I'd probably say the mental aspect of it. You're up there with various different cars of different speeds. You've got a lot of passing. You're being overtaken, but for the most part, I'd say it's the mental concentration out there.
Well, after 1,000K tomorrow, these guys are going to be worn out.
No question about that. I wonder if Charlie Shears and Tristan Nunez looked up and down the pit lane and saw that nobody else virtually was going with 2 drivers. And if it's a day as hot as today, tomorrow, they are going to earn their money. Here's a look at the class Prototype Challenge.
You see the purple number plate on all these cars. It's a spec series. They all run Orca chassis. They all weigh the same. 6.2 liter crate motor Chevy, 430 horsepower. This is a very competitive class, as all of these spec cars classes are. You really have to get the most of the chassis.
if you want to put it into boxing terms, these are the middleweight guys. They have power, and you don't want to be hit by them. They're fast, and they're fast moving, and that's what these are in the lineup of prototypes. They are fun to drive. These, Dorsey, you and I would have loved to drive.
The balance of these cars is spectacular. The horsepower isn't such that it's a nuisance. It's just enough to make this a really quick combination.
Well, here's a measure of just how close the competition is in Prototype Challenge. 9 races thus far this year have seen 5 different pole sitters, and none of those pole sitting cars has gone on to win the class in the race.
So it's by no means a given.
It's not a done deal, you know?
And I really want to put qualifying into, driving in multi-class racing into perspective for our viewers. Imagine you're doing a running race and you have your lane. Now in running, that's quite simple because you're all trying to do the same. In our form of sports cars, you have someone going slower than you in front and someone faster behind. So it's tremendously, you have to be immensely focused and on the game. Very hard to drive like this.
And look at those times. Dane Cameron, Kyle Marcelli, Tom Kimber-Smith, all within a few tenths of a second.
Now Cameron was fastest this morning as he is right now, but right now he is 7/10 of a second slower than the time he posted this morning. So either the racetrack might be off it a little bit. It's warm today for the very first time. They were out early this morning. And you see Nunez up to 3rd place right there.
116.798, a young driver from Boca Raton, Florida. Getting a wealth of experience in prototypes here in the American Le Mans Series in its final event, 148 races after it began.
It really is a question with these, talking about tires heating up and getting to temperature, air pressure in GT, but in a prototype, you have to work a little bit harder. There's less roll in the chassis, there's less dynamics going on, sort of sloppy dynamics. You really have to get them up to temperature to get the optimum out of the car.
And the pressure, because remember, there's not very much ride height on these cars to begin with. When they go out there with light pressures, the ride height's even less than what it needs. So they're on the chassis for the first lap.
And the top times are rolling like a taximeter. Tom Kimber-Smith had it for a second. Kyle Marcelli came through. He took it. Now it's Dane Cameron up top in the number 52 car with a 1:15.584.
Now he's within 2 seconds of the time he set this morning. It's much warmer here at Road Atlanta than it was when they went out earlier. Usually the warmth makes this track a little bit greasy and the times come down.
Watching Marcelli through here, this is such a key corner coming onto that back straight, following the number 9 on this as you drop downhill here. In your heart, you know whether you've got a good lap right now, don't you? And you don't want to mess it up on exit. That's very clean. Junqueira, 2nd place. That is very tidy lap. But of course, not enough.
No,
He's got to keep pushing.
You're so keen in the cockpit that you know, even before they had the telemetry inside to tell you, you can feel your way through a good lap. And you know when you've made a little error here or there.
Here comes Tom Kimber-Smith from the UK once again. Currently down in 4th place. Here comes the timing stripe. Up to 2nd.
Good run, 1560.
Okay, now here's the proposition that our colleagues talked about with regard to the GT classes. You want to go quickly. You want the headline. Call it an ego stroke to take pole position or at least start up front. But how much do you want to risk running the tires off the car?
Well, I don't think this opening 3 or 4 or 5 laps of qualifying, there's only one way to drive around here, and that is with full commitment. So everyone's doing it to what they have to. So they're pushing hard, but they're not going to run too many laps, I don't believe. But Tom Kimber-Smith is really pushing hard. You could see Marcelli's still out there. Everybody is still on it. I think right now, this is their optimum lap.
These tires, or all tires, not just these tires, get their happiest lap around the 3rd lap out at this racetrack. So you take your 1st lap, you really back it up with the 2nd lap that's good. The 3rd lap's magical, so you don't want to make a mistake on that lap.
Is Dane Cameron in the blue and black car close enough to Tom Kimber-Smith to get a tow on this long back straightaway?
Yeah. Oh, I think he is at that level. He's getting a little bit.
Junqueira just listening to him on the radio. Junqueira just pit pole position, provisional pole right now is out on track. So this is, as you say, Bob, it's changing every time one of them comes by. They're upping each other.
These should be the fast laps that we're looking at right now. Top pole time 15:20. Cameron, let's see if he can beat that. Nope.
No, he doesn't.
Does not get it that time. Actually, he was 3/10 off.
Actually, Marcelli came through.
Yeah, he pulled a nice lap out there. But, you know, right now, if you haven't done it now, now you start to get, Bob, into what you were talking about. Your team manager will be saying, he'll ask you as a driver, do you have it in you? Is it within the car to go faster? If not, don't bother. Come in. Also, you ask as a driver, how much do I have to get another position? So they're really working at it. Look at these guys, all in shot, all pushing pushing for position. Amazing.
3 of the top 4 in class. And as we approach now 1 minute 20 seconds from the 10-minute mark of the session, as Brian Till explained earlier, the teams are guaranteed 10 green flag minutes. When we get to the 5-minute mark, it will be an official session.
Bruno goes quicker, 15:143, gets about a half a tenth. That's the improvement. Still on pole.
That was a statement.
That's a definite statement. That's backing your fast time up. And when you see a guy back this time up, you know he's hooked up good.
Let's see what we have here as the fast 3 come through.
So we have Marcelli coming under the bridge. Not much you can do now, really. I mean, you've got to keep that. These cars are flat down that hill. So, you know, you're giving it all commitment right now. And he did not improve.
None of them
He
did.
tried very hard right there. For Marcelli, he would want pole round here.
Right now, you know, if you're in this position, what I would do is back it down for a lap. Take a deep breath, think about where you can get a little time, and say, I can do better than that. I would always say, I got more left in me.
There's plenty of time left when you're lapping at 1 minute and 15 seconds.
Yeah, Marcelli just bounced off the curb. And in, you know, the GT cars, you can do that and not lose speed. Typically, in the prototype cars, when you cloud a curb that hard, it slows your momentum. You can't put power down while in the air. I found that out.
You did?
And you can't brake while up there either.
That's right. It's what downhill ski racers always learn. Flying through the air just slows you down. You want to be on the surface. Now there's Bruno Junqueira, who made his name running open-wheeled cars and part of the Champ Car World Series here in the United States for a long time.
15:30 that time.
He does not improve. Always known as a qualifying specialist in a Champ Car.
Right now, I would bring him in. I would bring him in unless you hold him rotating quite slowly. You know what I mean? If he backed down a bit just to see if Cameron or Marcelli or Kimber Smith managed to put in a faster lap, you know? I'd just be out there, just in case I could defend.
Well, we saw the Ferrari team, the Risi team, do that with Matteo Malucelli.
Cameron goes to top. Oh my God, that must have been a stunning lap.
Well, aren't you glad you didn't call your man in?
So that will have just wound Bruno up.
15.092. And yes, you can be sure the teams are going to be telling the drivers what Dane Cameron just did.
That's a statement by Dane Cameron. He did what I talked about. He backed himself out of traffic. He found a place. He regrouped his thinking, and he put down a number. Now they got to chase him.
He's been coaching his teammate Mike Gouache for the entire season, so a championship for Gouache would reflect well on Dane Cameron as well.
Dane Cameron, in my books, guys, is a superstar right now. He's bouncing back and forth between different cars, but we've seen him in a bunch of different situations. This kid can drive a race car, no doubt about it. He's fast.
Here comes Junqueira. Can he seize P1 back?
Nope.
Not on that lap.
He's 3/10 off his best lap. He's at a 4. A lot of that's tire issue right now. You've run this car hard enough, unless you can get the tire back under the car by slowing down for a lap or two. You know, you're past the edge where the tire's at its primo. Right now, the driver's got to make up the difference, not the tire.
And it's very important. You know, they talked about it in the GT class. Right now, a lot of these guys are paired, these hot shots are paired with drivers that employ them. So they need to do well for next year. Kimber Smith.
There's your 1490 by Cameron.
Cameron, it's really competitive.
Yeah, that's putting one up there. When you run a consecutive 2-lap average like that. So we hear a little radio chatter there. That is really 2 solidly good laps.
Oh, now wait a minute. Kimber Smith appears to be slowing down as
he's probably just getting track position again.
Cameron was coming.
You know, you
fast.
want to catch somebody who's going really fast down the straightaway and get that toe, but you don't want him anywhere near around you when you get to a corner entry.
Doing very well. This is the end of a season. They all know who's in the other car.
Yeah.
There seems to be that feeling of choreography about it. They know when to pull over. It's very respectful out there in qualifying because remember, what you do to me, I can easily do to you.
And in a spec class, you better drive like that because they are always going to run exactly together. Whoever's messing with you this week, you got to get back at him next week. And what goes around comes around, like you said. That was a great number, a 14.955. This is now faster than it was earlier in the morning when the crisp air in the racetrack should have been fast.
With just 2 minutes to go, you've really got to make a decision. You can really punish these tires on this last lap or two.
One more big lap.
Yeah, I mean, you feel the degradation of the tire from behind the steering wheel. You know when it's starting to go away. And once it gets to that point, we had somebody up in the back. That is Bruno.
The tire wall. That's at the top of turn 5.
Wow, that's quite fast up there.
Now, he was going slower and slower.
There, he got it going.
Has he got a puncture or something?
I don't see any skid marks going into it, too. No, right front. Right front wheel's not turning.
Oh, yeah, the splitter is under the right front wheel.
Yeah, right front wheel's not even rolling at all.
Splitter's come off. I wonder if he did that on a curb. Let's see if we can see what happened.
I didn't see skid marks going in there, but like I say, if you're in the air, you don't get him. That's curb there, and he's off in the dirty stuff.
Ah, he went wide in the top of the hill.
Like you said, you can't clip curbs in these. He clipped the right-hand curb that just moved him across. He had no chance of the left-hand apex, and he actually did the right thing at first. He wasn't fighting it. He didn't want to spin, but of course, I don't think he saw he doesn't really realize the gravel leads to.
You know, you saw the car hit the curb, and then the steering wheels both were in the air. He couldn't do anything. There's no braking available, and there's no turning available. You're right. He didn't try to turn anything further. He went straight and saved the car. That's not a big hit or anything, but and he'll get it back to pit lane, which is good as well. But he will remain no better than second. And there's debris coming off the car, so I wonder what they'll do with all that.
No
These are
improvement.
full carbon fiber cars, so all that shreds are like little razor blades out there.
All built by the French Orca firm. We've spent a half century in sports car racing.
Luckily, no major damage. It was a relatively light hit on the right front corner. Even the bodywork's still intact, although it's shuffled it loose.
But that's today.
Yeah,
Tomorrow,
there goes more
if
debris.
you clip like that tomorrow,
that's a whole different
you
story.
just caused yourself a lot of issues.
Long racetrack, and that happened in turn 5. You'd have to limp around, everybody going at full speed, you being reduced. You see the debris flag right there, the corner worker putting it out, warning these drivers of impending pieces of that race car out there.
Checkered flag is out. Hot laps will count.
There's that big chunk I saw that flew off. It's kind of offline, which is good. The corner workers will clean that all up before our next cars go.
I think that was a great indication of what this race is going to be like in this class. It was very sporty. Dane Cameron, as we follow him coming up under the bridge for the last time before he'll be in the race car for tomorrow. That is, they did a very nice job in qualifying, didn't he? That was a strong effort.
15.0 for Cameron. Marcelli comes through, no improvement. He stays at 1:15.367.
I would have figured as much. Just deep into the run, the tires are off their game.
And Tom Cameron Smith waved off his final lap, headed for the pits. Third pole of the year for Dane Cameron.
And with a big number. That's a very fast lap to put down this time of the day. It's the warm part of the day. Right now, 2:45. They got a good setup under that one.
And remember, yesterday we had so much rain. It was so disgusting. The track is probably really just coming into its own now.
Absolutely right.
You know, this is a track with all the clay and the water running through it. It's all off camera. There's a lot of runoff here, and the track is probably at its nicest.
Yep.
Junqueira makes the RSR pits. The team will go to work on the car. Meanwhile, Dane Cameron can enjoy his second pole in the LMPC class here at Petit Le Mans. He also took the pole in 2011 class. Previous poles this year, Baltimore and VAR. But remember, as I said earlier, pole does not come close to signifying a victory in the LMPC class.
They have a very busy 10 hours tomorrow. And these cars are so fast, and they're as committed. We must always remember that, as committed as anyone else on the racetrack.
Oh, absolutely. It's a very competitive class. And they'll have to think now and go into their books and look up some data, because this racetrack today is primo. Tomorrow it will not be that way after 10 hours of racing.
Sean Rahal takes the 5th spot with a lap at 1:15.399. Rahal doing double duty this weekend and picking up a championship in the IMSA Lights category just this morning. Congratulations to him.
Had a great weekend all weekend. Been running everything it seems like out there. Sean Rahal's behind the wheel. Good congratulations there. It's a happy moment.
Handshakes and high fives all around.
The best way to come to the pit lane.
Yeah, it is.
You know, you see your team, you see the look on their face, and you know that all that hard work all season long has been good for them.
That was hard fought. You know, he had to back off, think about it a while, and then regroup and mount that attack, and it was a strong one.
Cool customer and a real rising star in American sports car racing is Dane Cameron. As you see, Jamie Howe is standing there. Let's hear from our pole sitter.
Dane finally got that helmet off. Dane Cameron, it's your 3rd pole this season, your 2nd consecutive as a driver who was brought in with the goal of getting your teammate Mike Wash this championship. How important is this to you?
It just makes the job easier from the get-go. The view is always a bit nicer in the front, and easiest way to try to get this championship for Mike is to control our own destiny. And if we can do our best and try to win the race and start up front and be up front all day, that it's just one of those things that go wrong.
There are many drivers that say the competition in PC is a lot tougher for this endurance race than it was at the beginning of the year for Sebring. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I wasn't there at the beginning half of the year, but it's absolutely stacked, and to be on pole 3 times now in this category out of the 4 races I've done is a huge achievement. So a huge thank you to everyone at PR1 Methods and Motorsports for great cars. Thanks to Mike and David for having me be a part of it. And yeah, we'll see what we can do tomorrow.
Well, Dane Cameron was not born here in the area. He does live about 15 miles from the racetrack now, so another hometown favorite. Congratulations.
Congratulations indeed to Dane Cameron. With that, we move on to the LMP2 category. And here's the Drivers' Championship situation coming in. Team owner and driver Scott Tucker has 2 cars in tomorrow's 10 hours or 1,000-mile Tequila Patron Petit Le Mans. But as you can see, it's a very close battle for the Drivers' Championship, with one of his own teammates, Marino Franchitti, and with Scott Sharp and Guy Cosmo with Extreme Speed Motorsports. Let's hear from Kelly with Marino Franchitti.
Well, and it is Scott Tucker who sits alone at the top of the P2 standings. 2 of his teammates 3rd and 4th, respectively. Marino Franchitti, talk about an all-star lineup. You and Ryan Briscoe teamed up with Scott Tucker to try and get him this championship. How do you like being in that situation where it's a bit in your hands?
It's great to be in that situation. Ryan, Scott, and myself have driven together at Sebring, Le Mans, back here obviously as well.
The 551 just pulling out here. Sorry, Marino.
Yeah, so great to be back together with those guys. Hopefully we can get the right result on Saturday. And that would mean Scott winning the championship, me finishing 2nd. So that's obviously the aim for the team. And yeah, you know, we've had a solid year so far, and I think we've 9 poles out of 10 races so far. This is number 10. Hopefully Ryan can get it done today as well.
Well, there was some speculation that they would keep you and Scott separated for this race so that if anything happened to Scott's car, you would be in a good position to perhaps take home the championship. You said never even crossed your mind.
I hadn't actually, you know, because it was always a plan for us to be back together. The 3 of us work very well together. We're all in, obviously, with that car, and that's the way we like it. And we're just looking forward to going racing with the ASM guys tomorrow.
All right, they're all in. Ryan Briscoe is doing qualifying for the 551. Thank you, Marino, and Jamie's with Extreme Speed.
Well, it's Scott Sharp and David Brabham, the 2009 prototype champions, back together again this weekend. Scott, 6 points back in this championship. All comes down to the final race. You got some butterflies in the stomach?
You know, for us, it's actually pretty easy. Just go win. You know, we need to probably finish 1-2. So we want to finish the year strongly. We as a team, of course, won here last year in the GT class. So just go try to win it and let the points fall where they fall.
Your team, your sponsor, so much support for the American Le Mans Series over the years, so much success. How important is it for you guys to get a win at the last American Le Mans race?
Well, I think it'd be huge for Patron, be huge for the whole team, the effort that's gone in this year. Literally, we got these cars 2 weeks before Sebring, so it's been a great year. We've learned a lot, which is really what our goal was, and we're just super excited for what's going to come about next year. All the changes, hopefully big fields, lots of exciting races, so pumped up for it.
Yeah, the future next year, this team will be back with both of these cars.
Thanks, Chris. And yes, let me clarify to what I was saying. Adding an extra level of intrigue to tomorrow's race is the fact that Guy Cosmo started the season with Extreme Speed, but switched over this weekend to the Level 5 team. Those 2 teams account for all 4 cars in the class. They will qualify alongside the big P1 prototypes. Let's talk about the cars.
Well, as you can see, they carry the red number plates, and these, to me, are some of the most spectacular cars you will ever see on racetracks anywhere in the world. Purpose-built, high-tech. We have open-top and coupes. Imagine speed of over 200 miles an hour, Dorsey.
Very like the cars that we're looking at. The P2 cars, of course, are a little bit down on the horsepower end of things. Let me just say this. With the P1 cars, we won't see them anymore. This is the last time we'll see them in the United States anyway. These are the fastest sports cars on the planet. That's what brings the crowd in here. That's what people came to see today.
But it is a very expensive class to run.
Yeah.
The P1 championship has been entirely decided, so let's hear from co-champion Klaus Groff with Jamie Howe.
Yes, Muscle Milk Picket Racing got that championship with 5 pole positions and 8 victories so far on the season. But Klaus, you guys have some added competition here this weekend. Rebellion Racing has come back. They say their one goal is to win this race. What do you guys have for them?
Well, that's our goal too. Obviously, only one can win this last Petit Le Mans race in the ALMS. So Muscle Milk Picket Racing is going to try everything what we can to achieve that. I mean, qualifying session is on right now. we probably won't have much for them in qualifying, but it's a long race, and we're very consistent in the race. We're very confident about that.
You say you guys won't have much for them in qualifying. What are the differences between these two cars that cause that?
Well, I mean, we always run the same kind of configuration, whether it's qualifying or race, in terms of mapping and overall speed. I think they can probably change that a little bit, the Rebellion car for qualifying, and tune it up a little bit. So they maybe have a slight advantage over one lap. But like I said, 10 hours, and with the traffic here, you got to keep it clean, and we'll see how it goes, but we'll look forward to it.
It's Lucas Luhr behind the wheel right now for qualifying duties. They've also added Porsche factory driver Romain Dumas for the race tomorrow.
It is a powerhouse lineup, no doubt about it. And as you watch Lucas Luhr in action, he has a chance to add a little exclamation point to the American Le Mans Series record book before we close it following tomorrow's race. 23 times Lucas Luhr has been the pole sitter in the LMP1 class, and by that, overall race pole sitter. If he does it again, he will set a new all-time record with his 24th pole.
3 of those that you mentioned have come in this year's running. So he's been on song all year. This car has been just spectacular to watch.
One thing that I love about listening to all those drivers, whether it's in GT, PC, or prototypes, is remember, racing drivers are racers. We like to strategize and hypothesize on what might happen. All they want to do is go head to head. No one's backing down from the fight right now.
And I tell you what, this is the right racetrack to do it at. Everybody likes to come to Road Atlanta and run here because it's so doggone fast and so dangerous. It's fun.
Well, Neil Yanni laid down an extraordinary lap. Basically, the first lap the tires were hot. He has done a 10 flat, 110 flat, which is amazing. So I think that'll probably put a bug in Lucas Luhr's derriere.
I predicted he'd be in the 9s. I had no doubt because he ran a 10. He ran a 10-1 in the practice earlier. Oh, and the Dyson car in the gravel trap. That's going to bring out a stoppage.
Sorry.
It's Chris Dyson.
You just heard him on the radio.
A high 10.
He just said sorry, which is
hit the
about the
brakes
only words you can say.
Wow.
Sorry.
That's a stoppage of the qualifying for now.
And that is such a difficult braking zone down in there when you're pushing for qualifying. The car's all light on the front. I mean, heavy on the front and light on the rear.
Now, Chris Dyson spun earlier with rear brake bias. Let's listen. Yep, right away. Did you hear him? He just snapped.
Did he go for a downshift at the same time?
I think he did.
There?
And that sounded like what happened in the practice session earlier. He had the same situation where you could hear the gearbox going, right before he spun. So it's too much rear brake or too much mismatching on that downshift through the electronics.
No doubt. Lock up there. You can see the tire tracks.
But of course, remember, you're trying to achieve an amazing last lap while setting up for a fantastic next lap.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
This is really the last point you have any real control over that, because over the hill these prototypes are flat all the way down.
Yeah.
So this is the last place you can actually gain. So we're going to have a quick look now at what happened to him in practice, because I think, Dorsey, you could be very correct that, that it was a similar sort of sequence of events.
And listen to the gearbox on the downshift. This happens before on board. So he just locks the rears. He was in traffic there, and I don't know if he got caught off by the guy, but listen now, I think we can, no, we don't have the onboard. But I did pick up on the fact that when he did that, as soon as he got on the brakes, the gearbox locked. I could hear it start to chatter.
It chattered, yeah.
Yeah, you'll hear it this time. Hear that? That's the gearbox chopping around back there.
And it's almost as though there wasn't let's go old school when you actually have to heel and toe.
Yeah, well, you don't have that. That's what I mean. If it's a mismatched downshift now, it's because they've got the software and the computer programming not quite right. It's not blipping the throttle enough on the downshift to keep it from locking the rear wheel.
Let's get to Chris Neville standing by with Rebellion Racing driver Nick Heidfeld.
Yeah, Nick Heidfeld and I down here taking a look at the 12 car that just came in. And Nick, you and Neil Yanni had a great battle with Muscle Milk at Long Beach, also at Laguna Seca. How bad do you want to beat that team?
Well, of course, we want to beat them. Last 2 races we were together. They were ahead of us. We beat them in Sebring. But more importantly, it was a great fight. It was just so much fun, and that's why we looked so much forward to coming here again.
Yeah, coming here, one thing I've heard from your co-drivers is there's so many fans, there's so much excitement about this race. It's great to be back racing in America.
Yeah, it's the first time for me here, and everybody said before it's fantastic. And already this morning when I came in, I saw so many fans, so many campers. You feel the atmosphere is buzzing, and it's just special being here in the States.
With this being your first time here, what has some of the team told you about this race and all these different classes?
Well, obviously traffic is not easy here because it's a pretty short circuit with just 1 minute and 10 per lap. But they said it was a lot worse 2-3 years ago, so it's not too bad.
Well, I think your teammate got a minute 10 out there. Do you think we can see a minute 09 out of him?
Yeah, I'm quite sure that we could. In the last couple of days, we already were quite comfortably below the 1 minute 10. He was still getting tires up to temperature, but the lap time is not the most important thing. We just try to be ahead of the muscle milk, try to be on pole position and have a good race start.
And guys, one thing that I've noticed is this car comes down the front straightaway. Very different spring rate than the other prototypes out there. There's a big bump right at the start-finish line, and this Rebellion car really abrupt over that bump. So keep an eye on that, Dorsey, as you watch this car through the corners.
A lot of technology gone into the suspensions in these, all the way through the design of it originally, shock absorbers, and it's too lengthy to even get into. We'll, during our broadcast, get into the new technology on stuff. As you see these, he just broke the broom. Now, that's what I would have done. That's what you and I would do.
Low technology brush.
But we would have broke the broom right away, so, you know, now he's done.
But it's quite interesting. Rebellion has been competing at the top level across Europe, and they bought Formula One drivers, nearly all ex-Formula 1 drivers, and it's interesting, often that reflects in the car setup.
True.
Formula One drivers have a capacity to deal with a stiffer chassis, and I think that's probably the difference between the two driving styles and the two cars.
Driver change going on with the 16. Jamie, what's happening?
Well, we don't often see driver changes during qualifying, and even though Chris did have that issue where he said the rear brakes locked up when he was out there, they do have to get Tony Burgess behind the wheel of this car because Tony has not met what we call the 115% rule, which means he is not within 85% of the best time from the practice sessions of the P1 car. So he does need to get out there, get a couple of laps. Otherwise, what has to happen to the number 16 is they will have to start at the back of the pack tomorrow, and their fastest driver in the car will have to start the race, which obviously would throw a big wrench into their strategy for the race tomorrow. So they're going to try and get Tony out there, and hopefully he can turn a couple laps.
And Justin, you were just talking about the Formula One drivers on this Rebellion team. I was talking to Nico Prost before qualifying and all the testing that he does for the Lotus Formula One time. He said this year he's actually done 45 days of simulation testing for that team, typically about 1,000 miles a day when he's in the simulator.
That's just outrageous. The modern face of racing.
Wow. So Burgess has not had any time in the dry yet. That's what that's talking about back there. He doesn't have the speed lap chart time yet to be within the element where he didn't have to start at the back. So not only do we have to get that car cleaned up, all the gravel out, but they got to get him out here because there's not much time left in the session.
But this is the man I'm interested in right now. Lucas Law is no wallflower when it comes to performance. He wants to make a stamp. I don't know if he can get as close down under the 10s, but I think he's going to put it right there, right alongside them as close as he can.
Justin, with like 3:30 to go, he's going to scrub his tires. He's only going to get 2 time laps, just like I was about to say. He might get 2 laps, and they better be good. Tires are cool now again, remember. That's what he's doing, scrubbing.
Clock ticking away. We've checked with race control, and it appears this will be an official session. They will get the required 10 minutes of green flag time as Lucas Luhr flashes across start-finish.
Well, whoever on the racetrack now, they got 2 laps to get the job done.
Remember, Lucas Luhr going for that 24th pole position to break a tie with Olivier Beretta.
You know, when this happens, Justin, when you've got a session stop like that, you're sitting on that pit lane, your heart's up in your throat, you've got adrenaline rush. This is fun. These 2 laps here are fun.
Oh, you've just built up back pressure that you have to release, and there's only one way to do it, and that is go forward. So, I mean, that's great. I mean, the Rebellion is being held up there as they come up onto leading down to that very important sequence. But remember, this is their warm-up lap effectively, so they're going to have to build up. But he wants to go sub-10.
You know, these are where you see some really special moments. When you get backed up against the wall like this on a time, you got 2 laps, you know you got 2 laps. This is when magic happens.
As you said, look at Lucas, and now he'll know, and his team will know how he's done on the rest of that lap. As I said, this braking area is very, very demanding as you go downhill, and from now on, it's wide open to the finish. So you're worrying about this lap and improving on the next one.
Yeah, exactly.
So as we watch him cross the line, how has he done? 110.9.
Nicely done.
Under 111.
Good outlap. I mean, that was a smoker.
Very nicely done. And of course, so now Yanni will be somewhere behind him.
Not as good, though, because he had to pass a car.
That's true. That was a slower lap for him.
But still, that first hot lap by
That's
Giuliani is just incredible under the circumstances.
Yeah, that's putting it on the money, and that means his car's set up really good. He trusted in it. It came through for him. This lap will be better.
Here comes the Swiss.
And this will be his really good, not a good time lap, but a good warm-up for this next one.
I'm as excited as any of the other fans here to see these guys.
Me too.
Watch them at Le Mans, saw them here. You know, they're just such a strong and a great team, and they have a great philosophy about their racing on just really, they're the ultimate. They go for one thing, win races, win championships, and isn't it great, isn't it significant to show how important this car we're watching right now is to them?
Yeah.
They've come here to America to beat these guys.
Absolutely, and this car has won its championship, and they don't want to get beat. They want to win the race too. So it's all for naught here. Let's see what he runs through here at. Got to be 10.0.
10.6.
He improved.
It's a good lap.
He's going to get one more, and you heard the pits telling him go
There's
for
Yanni.
it.
9:30. Holy cow! Smokes one.
9:34.
And that's passing the car. Let's see what he does this lap.
Okay, if I was Lucas, I would just pull in now and save my tires for the opening lap.
Wow, Nick Heidfeld wasn't kidding. Yeah, we can get comfortably under 110. Pow!
Wow,
that
is
was
magnificent.
That was a good lap, and it was not a clean lap. He had to go around another car. It probably cost him at least a tenth.
There he is.
He's in clear sailing right now, and he's not backed off either.
No, it's interesting. He's going for a backup here, isn't he?
Yeah, and they want to make a statement. They want to spank this competition.
Also, why? Because it's the last lap time that will ever be set here in the pole position lap time.
David Brabham, guys, also in P2 is out qualified and sits up in the top position there. Has not been in this car since the beginning of the year at Sebring.
Has not been in any car.
Yeah, in any car.
Since Sebring.
Didn't take him long.
He's really worked hard with him on setup. Congratulations, David. So far, that was a magnificent.
Here comes Klaus.
In
What's
the
he got?
Yanni just 0.3 off the qualifying
He went
record
faster,
here.
10.3.
Wow.
Lucas has dug deep, but that is all he's
Here
going to
we
be able
go.
to do as Yanni comes up to the
9.2.
line.
Beats it.
You know when someone's already lying down, you don't kick him in the head again, do you?
Sure
Oh
you
my
do.
God.
It's racing.
Yeah, it's racing. That was Meg. I love that. That shows the intensity, and these guys will work on everything they
Yes.
can over the next 24 hours to beat them tomorrow.
And they knew they really, I think they'll be very pleased with what they have. I don't think that they thought they would get as close as they really are on the outlap single lap.
And Ryan Briscoe there on his last lap just pips DB forward by half a second there.
Yeah, but Brabham, what's he come across with? He might not be done yet either.
Ryan Briscoe gunning for his 6th class pole of the year. That would be a new single season record. There's Brabham in the extreme speed car. Last year, the Rebellion and Muscle Milk teams qualified 1-2 for Petit Le Mans. They may do it again.
They will have told him by radio now that his time doesn't stand at the top anymore. Briscoe at a 112.490. Brabham currently at a 112.9, a half a second.
Checkers are out. Briscoe obviously
has he run out of fuel?
He's cooling down. We'll find out shortly if he's out of fuel. He's got a long way to go.
Yeah, he's off it too. So.
Oh, DB knows.
Yeah, but it's over. But that was a good session for those guys. Wow. Briscoe gets the 112.4 for the pole. Brabham, though, with a fantastic drive, 112.9, hasn't been in the car all year, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, remember, they put their best sword fighters in for this.
Yes, absolutely.
Because,
right.
And I have really enjoyed watching the enthusiasm for Ryan Briscoe as he approached, when we saw him at VIR, amazing enthusiasm for what we do here.
So there goes Lucas Luhr and the Muscle Milk Pickett Racing team to the pit lane. He will not get his 24th and will go into the record books tied with Olivier Beretta for all-time P1 qualifying. And congratulations to Rebellion. They say they came here with a chip on their shoulder. This track owes them something after last year's race. And once again, they out-qualify Muscle Milk Pickett Racing. Tony Burgess gets a 114.9. Hopefully that will meet with the approval of the stewards. And the Delta Wing is in the field for tomorrow's race.
Of course, tomorrow, a whole different scenario. You know, you got a 1,000-mile, 10 hours to deal with. So these speeds, although they're representative of how fast the car can do on a single lap, really don't mean much tomorrow.
There's the Rebellion crew. Neil Yanni, graduate of the Red Bull Driver Development Program. Had some races with Scuderia Toro Rosso in Formula One. Has his second straight pole for the Petit Le Mans. To Chris Neville.
Yeah, Neil Yanni just getting his helmet off. What a great lap there. Nice little battle starting to happen between you guys and Muscle Milk. You draw first blood this weekend.
Yeah, well, is it finished already, or I don't think yet?
No, it's done. It's done. You guys have the pole.
Okay, good, great. Well, we've had all the pole positions this year whenever we were in ALMS, but we haven't won the races, so we know, that today is nice and great, but tomorrow is the big one.
Yeah, tomorrow the big one. 10 hours, 1,000K. What kind of strategy are you guys going to have to look at?
Well, I think it's Muscle Milk who will challenge us all the way. So they will be our target. We have to see what they do and try to stay close or try to pull away, but I think that won't be possible. So looking forward to a great fight tomorrow.
Yeah, with all these classes, really a fine balance between patience and attack all day.
Yeah, tomorrow will be a big tactical game, I think, and then most probably the last hour will decide.
Well, congratulations on the pole, guys.
No question about it. And there is Ryan Briscoe, stopped on
fuel.
track. I wonder if he did run out of fuel.
It wouldn't surprise me. They run these things as light as they can to try to get the optimum speed.
It's like when I was in college, I only went for one semester, and I was all about performance and saving money and weight.
There you go. Let's see if we can figure out from
No
the
gas in
onboard
my
what
car.
happened.
It's already off, engine.
Yeah.
That's gearbox noise you're hearing. Unless it's broken something, but the engine's not running right now. I don't really like the way it's clunking along, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, I think that was probably, I hope it's a gas issue because they ran it skinny, didn't they, to the end of that session.
Now, the bad news on this, if it's not out of fuel, guys, is if it broke something mechanically and they have to replace an engine or something, they go to the back. So if that's not just a case of being out of gas, and if that's a terminal kind of a failure that needs to be worked on, well, they get to run tomorrow, but they don't start where they qualified.
Well, we'll have that story for you as the Rebellion team celebrates their second straight pole for Petit Le Mans. Nick Heidfeld, Neil Yanni, and on the right, Nicolas Prost, son of four-time Formula One world champion Alain Prost, and a man who just had his contract renewed for next year, so he has more reasons to smile. Now, the word from the pit lane is that Ryan Briscoe, who has his second pole for Petit Le Mans, he also took the pole in 2008, is parked out there with what kind of a problem, Kelly?
Well, Bob, we're getting word right now, not a fuel issue, but a pickup problem on the 551. So Ryan Briscoe, who has now set a record in the P2 category with 6 pole positions this season, stopped out there on track trying to get that 551 back around, but that's the word, not a fuel issue, a pickup issue.
A pickup of what? If it's a fuel pickup, it's still a fuel issue, isn't it?
Well, nice.
It might not get all the fuel out of the tank, but it's still a fuel issue.
Nice semantic hair splitting.
But it could be a pickup of some other things, too, like a crank trigger or something. We don't really know. But in any event, she has stopped.
You notice the track map on the dashboard for the drivers to help in telling the crew where they are.
Oh.
There's the Dyson car. Once again, stopped on course.
Yeah, remember they were trying to get some time or some speed.
Yeah, Tony Burgess went out of the
Tony
car.
Burgess, so something might have broken. Well, that would be catastrophic. And we don't know that he got his time either, as a matter of fact. Let's see what
He did a
16.8, so he's good on that.
Right, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's not he won't have that problem to deal with.
That plus the required 3 laps in night practice, which took place last night in a damp and pretty treacherous
If he
situation.
did make time there, it would only keep him from having to be able to drive at night. And that can be waived by the chief steward if he wants to. Yeah. But, I mean, if he doesn't get his 3 laps at night, it just essentially he can't drive at night. That's not too bad on a 3-driver team.
Mm-hmm.
You can. I would always pick not for me to be the one at night.
And so would your teammates.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
saying
yeah,
that.
absolutely.
But of course, when you have the way it is, the roll up to any long distance race, super long distance race, Sebring or Le Mans or Petit Le Mans, is that you'd like to think you got all your troubles out of the way before the race day. And I hope for these guys that's what it was.
These would be good omens.
Well, we hope you'll join us for the Petit Le Mans. Brought to you by Tequila Patron. Tomorrow, here's the schedule. 11 p.m. to noon, including the pre-race show on Fox Sports 2, 2:30 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, also on Fox Sports 2, 6:30 to 8 Eastern on Fox Sports 1, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m., wrapping everything up with interviews from our winners and American Le Mans Series champions on Fox Sports 2. And you can see the entire race coverage streaming live at ALMS.com, Fox Sports Go phone app, and speed2.com. So be sure to join us for that. There will be a further story about the Level 5 car that Ryan Briscoe there put on pole We'll have that for you when we join you tomorrow for our live coverage of the 16th Tequila Patron Petit Le Mans. Final thoughts, gentlemen?
I think we're in for one of those Petit Le Mans that will go down in the history books for many reasons, but this is a gloves-off fight.
Yeah, with the rain out of here, with a good dry racetrack, we got a huge crowd of fans here to watch this going-out party, and it's going to be a big one.
Here's the official word. The penalty to the level 5 Ryan Briscoe car number 551 will take away his best lap. That means his second best lap will be his qualifying time. That moves the car to P2. David Brabham will start from pole in the 01 car from Extreme Speed. For our entire team, I'm Bob Varsha. So long from Road Atlanta.